You're listening to the Daily Sales Tips Podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Ingram. For those of you who've been following along, today marks the first day of my vacation. And thanks to James Muir, Jason Bay, Jeff Bajorek, Dale Dupree, Jack Wilson, Chris Ortolano, and Andy Rasick, the show will continue uninterrupted while I'm out. Today's tip comes in the form of a clip from part 2 of my very long but very valuable interview I did with Dale Dupree on the Sales Success Stories podcast. This part clocked in at just under 2 hours, so there's tons more where this came from if you enjoy it. Here's the clip.
It's basic human interaction. I talk to people, so anybody listening right now, I want you to go to your emails that you send out, for cold prospecting, that you keep wondering to yourself, man, what am I doing wrong? Or, could I do better? I'm only getting a 20% open rate or whatever it is. I want you to go and read those emails, and I want you to read them out loud. And I want you to read them out loud to your mom or your dad or someone that loves you, so that they can break it to you a lot easier than somebody that you don't like. When they tell you that, honey, nobody talks like that in real life. When I look at reps' emails, and I was guilty of this at an early stage in my career, that, the words we use are obnoxious. We try to sound like, I don't know, these scholars inside of the industry, right? All of a sudden you're talking to Archimedes, the copier sales rep, out of nowhere. And to me, that makes sales complicated. We overcomplicate sales. When you call someone cold and you ask them for a minute to tell them why you called, they're going to probably say no because you're a stranger. That is the basics of human interaction. And so my approach starts there, is that I'm proactive in my sales walk, where I say to myself, what is normal about what I'm about to do and what is not normal, so that I can tell my prospect before I start pitching or even get the conversation going that, hey, look, I know what you're expecting out of this call, and I don't like it either. So let's try something different, right? So I just like the approach of, again, being transparent in that process, and not the surface level transparency that a lot of people talk about, the authentic leadership behind what transparency means. Being a leader day in and day out as a salesperson and as a sales professional is extremely important. It ties back into servant leadership as well too, which carries a lot of great principles that salespeople need, like empathy. And so I think about all those things when I write an email. Have some empathy when you write an email, right? You will literally the opposite of the way that you sound right now, most likely, and people will look at it and go, "Huh, I'm interested." But Josh, you want to know who writes great sales emails? Is Josh Braun. I met Josh Braun not too long ago, maybe about a year or so ago, and I've always been interested in him. Sales DNA. He's a great dude. His cold emails are fire, right? And the thing is that he writes emails to people the way that he would want them to be written to him. Again, the principle of basic human interaction, matching and mirroring, right? All these very simple psychological effects that we work on. I took Spin and I took Sandler sales training, and I learned the Challenger sale. And I mean, I've done a ton of different sales trainings and gone through processes in my early stages of my career, and even over the years just to dabble in it. But I'll tell you that every time that what I see and kind of as a climax to my statement, what I get out of it is that we try to make everything a move and a technique and a tactic, but people just want to be treated like a human freaking being.
As always, you'll find links to everything Dale Dupree related. Well, maybe not everything, but certainly both parts 1 and part 2 of this long-form interview, as well as his LinkedIn profile and more at dailysales.tips/186. We'll also have a link to Josh Braun at Sales DNA on that page as well. Then make sure you're subscribed to the podcast and come back tomorrow for another great sales tip. Thanks for listening.